Hey everyone, I'm Arlie, and welcome back to another episode of Planet Zero. Our last episode covered some of the science behind how rising carbon dioxide levels in our atmosphere have a direct link to heating.
This is without a doubt the result of man-made carbon emissions. What we did not go over is what all this excess carbon dioxide in the air is doing to our natural ecosystems. After all, the atmosphere affects every ecosystem on the planet, our oceans being hit especially hard.
The ocean is the biggest biome on Earth, covering over 70% of our planet's land and producing over 80% of our planet's oxygen through tiny plants like phytoplankton.
The ocean also acts as a sink for carbon dioxide, passively dissolving it in the same way that soda water would.
It dissolves roughly 2.4 gigatons of carbon dioxide every year. That's 2,400,000,000 tons of carbon dioxide, and that's still not enough to keep up with humanity.
All this carbon dioxide in the water has an effect on the ocean's pH, or a measure of how acidic the ocean is. As carbon dioxide levels go up, the pH goes down, meaning that the ocean becomes more and more acidic over time.
This is a big issue, especially considering that the organisms that evolved in our ocean over millions of years did so to live in the ocean the way it normally is. Suddenly, in a more acidic environment,
organisms like mollusks, echinoderms, and corals are going to find it much harder to grow and survive.
But this is just one part of the issue. As the planet warms, inevitably, the ocean's gonna warm too. Over the last 100 years,
the ocean has warmed on average about 0.13 degrees Celsius every decade. This is leading to more extreme weather events like stronger hurricanes and harsher monsoons, as the evaporation from warmer oceans fuel these disasters.
This will directly affect economic growth and infrastructure in regions already prone to hurricanes, like New Orleans and Miami. Along with more intense storms, warmer oceans are also going to slowly melt away at the ice at the poles and glaciers.
A common misconception about sea ice melting is that if the polar ice caps melt, sorry polar bears, sea level will rise and flood the beaches.
This is not the case, however, as ice melting in the ocean does not raise the ocean any more than ice melting in a glass of water raises the level of the water.
But what does add to ocean levels is the melting glacier ice we see from Greenland, Antarctica, and across all mountainous glaciers such as those in Chile, Switzerland, and Canada. This melting has added an extra 21.26 centimeters to ocean levels since the start of the 20th century, and it's only going to increase.
What's even more worrisome is that as the ice melts, it exposes a darker ocean underneath,
which reflects less light than the white snow and ice, and therefore heats faster.
Scientists call this a positive feedback loop, where as more ice melts, the ocean gets warmer, causing more ice to melt, causing the ocean to get warmer, and it repeats. This is why, even though the effects of climate change may be small today, they could easily spiral into something way bigger because of these positive feedback loops. But we can't talk about the oceans without talking about coral reefs.
All across the ocean, coral ecosystems are undergoing what's known as bleaching, where they lose all their colors, turn bone white, and then crumble apart. This is because corals rely on microscopic algae known as zooxanthellae. Zooxanthella? Zooxanthella. Yeah, them. These algae are what allow the coral to survive, providing them with essential nutrients. However, corals are very finicky about the weather, and will happily eject all their zooxanthellae over an increase of just over 1 degree Celsius.
This unfortunately will kill them, leaving all the fish and organisms who depend on coral without a place to shelter from predators or have babies. This also means that all the humans who depend on these fish as a source of protein will have to look elsewhere for their food or go hungry.
As of now, the number of people who rely on fish for their protein is 3 billion people, all of which will be affected at differing levels by coral bleaching.
And I know this is sad, and I know that this sucks to talk about, but the last thing I need to drive home to you all is that by the year 2050,
we could potentially lose 90%, if not all the coral left on this planet.
This will lead to mass extinctions, loss of entire ecosystems, and famines in coastal developing nations where they depend on fish to survive. We need to address the climate crisis for what it is. There isn't time left to sit around and hope it goes away. If you're still watching at this point, we at Planet Zero are proud of you. This information can be really hard for people to digest and can cause a lot of anxiety as people feel overwhelmed in the face of a catastrophe they barely contributed to. However, there are things we can do as individuals to protect the plants and animals that call the ocean home.
First and foremost, volunteer for beach cleanups.
I lived in Los Angeles for most of my life, and I can say firsthand just how disgusting some of these waters can be.
Wrappers and bottles and bags and even condoms floating around in the waves. And that's nothing compared to the waters in developing nations.
But if you can't volunteer, we put links in the description for organizations you can donate to help clean up the waters. Second, as ocean ecosystems become more fragile,
it becomes wise to shift to more sustainable seafoods. This means eating farm-raised fish whenever possible.
These fish come with a way lower carbon footprint and do not deplete any resources, no matter how much is eaten. But all the beach cleanups and sustainable shrimp in the world are not going to solve the issue of warming waters.
To solve those means voting officials into office who believe in and want to address solving the climate crisis and holding them responsible for the promises they make.
Share videos like this with skeptical friends and family. Have uncomfortable conversations, because we need to act today. In our next episode, we're going to be discussing the economics of climate change, like why emissions still continue despite our knowledge, and what market mechanisms can be altered in order to kickstart a green revolution. Join the discussion in the comment section below, and make sure to like and subscribe to support Planet Zero. Okay, bye.